Hello and welcome to ABW Live. Hello, you happy campers. It's not a bad day today, is it? Not a bad day at all. To all our American friends, happy 4th of July. Well, to you, Drew, and to Shreds and the boys, hope you're having a yeah, I'm not sure what to say that. First in the box is Rocky 7 GT UK. Then we had Jimmy H 29. And 235-100, John Bernstein. Julian Salmon is there. Marco Bricks UK is there. K-Man 1867. J Rob. I said John Bernstein. I'm like Will AFC. David Keith. Danny's there. Formerly Nozza. That's a few I'm going to miss. I do apologize. Sanam Gurung is there. Kyan Jackson, all the way from Jamaica, is there. Grant Wilborn, Archie, Alan Craig, RJ, Carlito Alguna, Stu Fluffers is there, Jimbo. If I've missed you, I'm sorry. Gary Montague. If I've missed any of you, I apologize, but we're going to get into it. Happy 4th of July to all the American listeners. Hope you Gooners are happy. Big shout out to our Simon Collins. The lovely pre-match video today. He's had the makeup girl on him. Not a hair at a place, and he's at all these games reporting, and he's doing a stellar job. Fair play to the boy. Let's introduce our guest today. First and foremost, well, not first and foremost, and not last but least. Nick, how are you, Nick?
Yeah, doing good, Dan. Jason, how are you, mate?
Not too bad, Bart. Not too bad. Getting older, getting dafter, getting on with life. You know what it's like.
Yeah, but we've got a win, so that's a good thing. I've got 2 clean sheets on the spin.
I've got to be on some over the moon. I'm over the moon. Next, it's Drew. How are we, Drew?
Good. How are you guys?
Yeah, not too bad, pal. Not too bad.
This is the happiest I've ever seen you, ever.
do you know what? Okay, I was thinking before we went live, I was setting it up and just thought, after the Brighton game, there was so much annoyance and anger at such a poor, weak performance. And today, we may not have seen the best performance ever from us, but we've seen some real metal on show. And we've seen, even people who I don't think had a particularly great game, they fronted up. And that's so nice. And it's so nice to give these guys credit because obviously you can see, the things that Mikel is working on are coming to fruition, And that's a big away 3 points today. So, credit to them. I'm going to come straight to you on this, actually, Drew. No Pepe. His partner's having a baby. She's gone into labour. So good luck, Nico, and your partner. I hope everything goes fine. No Ozil again. No Guendouzi. Cedric starting over Hector. What were your thoughts on the lineup?
No, I think it was the right thing to do. Going with the back 3 gave us a bit more stability to deal with how Wolves like to set up moving forward. So I was quite happy with it. I think it gave us some semblance of continuity as well. And I wasn't surprised with who was in the 11 either. I think it's been made clear that Guendouzi has a long road back even if he's not sold this summer. I think who knows what Mesut Ozil's problem is. We don't know if it's the actual back issue, if there's other residual things going on, but it's clear that he's not preferring the 11 either. So I think he's gone with something that a lot of fans wanted to see. Rather, you had, I wanted one of Nketiah or Oba through the middle to kind of hit Wolves on the break because their center backs do lack pace. So I'm glad that Nketiah got a start. It shows that Arteta saw his faith in him, which is quite good. I was happy with the midfield selection as well. I think across the board, it'd be tough to really look at that side and try to pick it apart and find a problem with it. I think he wants to kind of see Cedric a bit more. I think he also made that clear that Cedric's going to be in the team because he offers something of a final ball that Bellerin doesn't. So, especially against Wolves, where you do need some creativity across the pitch. Again, I think it was no issues for me personally. But I don't know how you boys feel about it. I was happy with it.
It is what it is in my mind. Guendouzi, he's gone. Ozil, I don't know what the hell is going to happen with Ozil. But, I'm disappointed in Guendouzi because I thought you had a bit more about him. There's obviously, it's a discipline issue and, you can go to hell. As far as Hector needs a break and needs competition, Good to see Torreira back on the bench as well. Nick, start off, Traore, the muscles from wherever he's from. Early chance, Martinez very brave in the challenge. But Wolves came out to have a go at us, didn't they?
Yeah, they were definitely up. They weren't afraid of us at all. They were definitely hitting us most of the game on the counter-attack, but like straight through the middle and just running at our defence as well. And a few times I think Martinez today saved us, but not with like brilliant shot stopping, but just his decision-making, knowing when to come and when to sit back. But yeah, that Traore, I mean, he's a big boy, isn't he? I was like,
oh. I wonder how many hours he spends in the gym again. That lad is, cut to hell. It's fair play to him.
Yeah, I mean, if he could improve his finishing, they're going to have a really decent player there, aren't they?
I think he's had a hell of a season from all accounts. Look, he is what he is, but what he gives you in explosiveness and pace, okay, you're going to lack in other areas, but fair play to him. He was bonkers. They came out to this, but the first half, Drew, the first sort of 25 minutes, it was pretty cagey. I was a bit disappointed in the way we were on the ball. Okay, we weren't trying to stretch the defense. All too often we're playing statues. We're not sending a runner down the channels at all to make that defense move. And the options for sort of Luiz and especially Mustafi playing out to the back were very limited, weren't they?
I mean, they were, but I don't think Arteta came to this match looking to hit Wolves early. I really do think he was trying to really kind of feel them out, almost kind of like a boxing match. Sometimes the first couple of rounds, it's you figuring out your opponent and hitting him and figuring out how to hurt them and where to counter them. So I'm not sad that we didn't come out all guns blazing. I think if we actually did that, that would have played into Wolves' hands directly. I think Wolves really do thrive on the counter, so even sort of giving them some of the ball and us sitting back really takes away from the ability for Traore to get behind space. And if you notice, he didn't really threaten as much as you've seen him threaten other sides who do try to take the match to Wolves early. And if you give him space, you're finished. And the one time he did get that amount of space he was looking for all match long, he scuffed his finish, thankfully, for us. So I think trying to limit chances like that is exactly what Arteta wanted to do, because I'm not quite sure if you go 1-0 down to Wolves, that's what they want you to do. They want to be able to sit back and hit you on the break at pace. So I think Arteta was trying to really manage and hope that didn't really happen. And we did kind of limit their good chances. If you think of Traore's miss, they really only got a couple half chances from set pieces, and Neto had a good, Jota had a good opportunity, but it was blocked well by Luiz. So you can't really say that there were many moments where we were kind of edge of our seat. Whereas the last time we played Wolves, last couple of times we played, they cut us apart with ease multiple times. So I think the fact that Arteta's immediately addressed that issue tactically, it shows how well he managed the match for us. And I think that had a really big part to play today. It wasn't just about the player performance. I think a lot of criticism Arteta's been getting lately about his match management, I think he kind of put that to bed today. And this shows that he's learning every day on the job and he's improving with every match, as well as the players under him. And that's a really big thing for us moving forward. I think that's why for me today was huge on multiple levels, and that's probably one of the biggest ones.
Nick, as Drew says there, okay, you're seeing the development of the team. He's talking about not getting hit on the break. We've gone to a back three because we're a little bit deficient in midfield. We're a little bit deficient at the back, but the building on performance in the last few games, we've shown real maturity. And this, that sort of, I want to specifically look at the back three and the middle two. I don't think anybody's spectacular today, but their performances are growing game on game, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, you looked at it, they're not doing anything like brilliant or fantastic on the ball, but they seem to be doing the basics right every game. They're not losing their heads, mostly. And I noticed a few times Wolves, they tried to maybe make it kick off, and our boys today, I think there's one with Maitland-Niles as well. I think he got booked in it, but he just didn't kick off completely, where normally, with the likes of Guendouzi and people like that, they would absolutely, they can be got at and, lose position, lose focus, and end up passing the ball away and things like that. But like we were saying earlier, I think they did really well today, as a performance of the whole team.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I enjoyed it. I was frustrated first half. Thought we lacked, clear movement. But again, if that's what Arteta is setting up for, then they're carrying out their instruction, and you can't argue too much with it. But I did feel we could have stretched them a little bit more to put them on the back foot.
Yeah.
We see Patricio save from Nketiah, Drew. A really smartly taken shot from Eddie, who I thought had been struggling up to that point.
I think he was struggling a little bit, but that also kind of shows you how rapidly he's maturing as a player as well, and maybe why Arteta's putting faith in him. That effort he took, and maybe if you saw that from him earlier this season or last season, he would have taken an unnecessary touch or two to try to settle it and then take away his opportunity, and just putting his foot through it the first time. But when what was a really accurate first effort, and I caught Patricio kind of unawares given how we tend to make that save. So you just see that instinct in him is growing, and that's what you want from a young player of his age, where now he really has to push on given his age profile. So I think we all kind of when it happened, I thought that was going in, and I was ready to go through my ceiling with that effort. But it's unfortunate he didn't score. But again, it shows that intent and that rapidly increasing maturity that you want from him, and I think we can now, a lot of us can have maybe a little bit more faith in him moving forward, which is great. That's a big piece for the club moving forward, you would assume, and given what Arteta has to say about him over the last couple of weeks, you're kind of starting to see that now for sure.
Yeah, I wasn't enamored of his performance up to that point, but the confidence it takes to take on that shot early and to get on target and to really put Patricio, who's a top-class keeper, under pressure, it shows his growth, and that's really positive. It was so enjoyable to watch him take that on and have a crack. I was chuffed for him. I really was. There's not a massive amount to talk about in the first half, but Drew, let's get to the goal. Saka, who I felt had struggled on the right-hand side, he'd worked hard. He did okay, but you see a cross-field ball, which we've been playing all game. Cross-field balls are part of the makeup of our tactical setup nowadays. But Cedric plays across, Auba links on to Tierney across, and my God, Bakayoko Saka, Techers, what a finish.
It was a nice finish, and it wasn't nearly as easy of a finish as people think. You have to strike that expertly for that to not go into the ground, to blaze off the bar. He could have hit it wide very simply. So, again, it showed instincts that our young players are developing at a pretty rapid pace that you want to see, and it's something that maybe we've lamented not having at the club for a while. So, I think we all had the same reaction when that went in, didn't we? So, it just gives you confidence, and more importantly, it gives them confidence. And I think it's why they're giving Arteta some tough decisions. They're making themselves undroppable. When you have young players who make themselves undroppable based off of form, you're going to reap the benefits long term as well. And you see that in players, like Alphonso Davies right now at Bayern. He played himself. He got his opportunity. He played himself right into the left back role, and you want more of that with our young players. Well, Martinelli did the same thing before his injury. Nketiah's doing that currently. So, I was quite happy for him. I think you saw what it meant when it went in. Just signing a new deal, committing his future to the club, and he scores a goal as a quick repayment. You couldn't have written a better quick Saturday storyline. So I'm quite happy for that.
No, it was so pleasing. One of the things, Nick, I want you to talk about the goal. I also want you to expand on the fact of the amount of character it takes for these young players. Saka's had a tough afternoon. He's had a tough 45 minutes, and he's still got the mental strength and the ability to put that away. I just thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I like this wing backs thing where I suppose they're wing backs now, like Cedric and Tierney and people like that, playing these lovely diagonal balls over the something different. We haven't really seen a lot of whip from crosses lately. Normally we try and play 1-2s, with a winger and a fullback and whip it into the box. And a lot of times by then, a lot of the defenders are back and we're getting people like Aubameyang and Lacazette struggling for like headers in the air and stuff. But playing it early like we have been, that's been catching a few people out since we've restarted after, the COVID thing. But I did look because when the ball came in, was it from Tierney, and there was like a hint of handball or there's definitely a deflection. And you could see with Saka, he knew what he was going to do. He got his body shape right, no hesitation. And he couldn't have hit that any sweeter if he'd have tried. He could have hit 10 of those, and none of them would have been as sweet as that. And I just liked him because he had a lot of time to think about it as well. And a lot of our boys, when they have time to, in the past, time to think about, shooting or passing and stuff like that, they tend to fluff it. But this kid, he's just playing with no fear at all at the moment. And like I say, what a finish by the boy, especially, the pressure. I'll say the pressure was on, but, we were 0-0 away from home. That was our first real, I'd say, decent chance where he thought, get it on target, and he did. So can't be more happier than that for him.
His body shape,
when
he strikes that ball, just his body shape, the quality shown. I was just absolutely thrilled for him. That ends the first half. We're going 1-0 up. Really pleased with that. We dominated possession, 57%. We had more shot. We had 3 shots on target as opposed to Wolves 6. Sorry, 3 shots as opposed to Wolves 6 on target. All of 3 were on target. 1 from Wolves, 2 corners to their 1, but 3 fouls to 2 to us. It hadn't been the most inspiring first half of football. It is difficult for these guys. There's no crowd. When they were playing High Ho Silver Lining at the beginning of the match, it always kind of struck me, remembering back to listening to that full pelt and all the fans at Molineux singing it. It's quite a sound. So I think we've really got to be, a little bit more thoughtful with the way we look at it. Drew, second half starts, and Wolves are on top from the start, aren't they?
Yeah, but you'd expect it, and some numbers came out at halftime that I think it's 73% of their goals, 73% of the goals they scored come in the second half this season. I think they had the best defensive record in the second half as well. So you always knew they were going to come out and try to get back in the game. And again, even myself at that time, I was I didn't want us to sit too far back, and invite the pressure because you knew that maybe they would get that half chance and put it away. But I think that was just so tight of managing the game again. And if you look at it upon reflection and with some hindsight, I think he made the right decision. Wolves in the last 15 minutes, maybe almost close to 20 minutes, you see their legs started to get a little bit tired. They had to bring on a wath of changes as well. And I think they almost played themselves out of getting a result because I think they pushed too hard for the goal early, despite almost getting it. So, but again, that's part of it. When you're away from home, it can't always just be kind of balls to the wall football unless you're a side like Liverpool or Man City where you can afford to do that. And we can't right now. So, I don't think it was anything that wasn't expected. And we still managed it quite well. I think, defensively we looked pretty solid, except for the 1 or 2 moments where Wolves did find space and did create. Maybe our positioning was slightly off balance, but overall, again, I think, we can all say we're pretty happy with that.
What were your thoughts? If I go to Nick, I want to go one piece for me. Your thoughts on 55 minutes, we swap Tierney for AMN. Now, AMN offers you a bit more pace, no doubt. But what were your thoughts on that change?
Yeah, I thought it was a bit strange because I didn't know if he got an injury or something like that, because Tierney's played really well since they've been back. But maybe obviously it must have been some, tactical reason. And yeah, I can't really think why they would have swapped him, but they did. But he done really well when he came on, like we were saying earlier. He linked up quite well. He put a few dark arts, sort of scruffing in the corner and stuff like that, holding the ball up well and just keeping it away from him. So I think he did his job really well. And if when he comes on like that, and not just him, but all these players, when they come on and do what Arteta wants them to do from the bench, then he's given Arteta decisions to make whether or not to start them or not. Because if you don't start the game, it doesn't mean you don't have any influence on the game at all. You've got to have, a plan B or someone to come on and do something different. Like I say, he's a different type of player to Tierney as well. And he, like I say, did really well when he came on. So I was happy he came on in the end.
I got to be honest, I thought AMN was superb. I thought he used his physical attributes well. I thought he was tenacious. I thought he really took to the challenge of Traore, and he went after it. Drew, was that a good tactical piece from Arteta, in your opinion?
I think so, and also, but again, it showed his willingness to adapt in the moment, and that's something that you see from managers that are building confidence within themselves as well, but also have faith across the squad. Being able to make a tactical change on the fly based off of the ebb and flow of the matches is really a big part of being a manager in football. So, but I also do think that there were quite a few instances in the first half where maybe Tierney had to run himself a bit ragged. We don't know how strong his fitness levels are. I don't think we're going to ask him to complete a lot of 90-minute performances right now, especially considering the nature of how often we're playing every 3 or 4 days sometimes. You do have to manage your players, and I think a lot of us would look at Maitland-Niles as a player who can fill multiple roles. He can play right back, he can deputize at left back if you need. There's arguments that he can play centrally. So if you're going to have that kind of player that you can bring off the bench and he can do a job for 20 minutes, then you use that kind of player. You see other players like James Milner as that kind of plays that kind of role for Liverpool. So I do think it was good for Arteta to identify the weakness maybe and then adjust real quickly before it could become a much bigger problem. And I think that showed his maturation as a manager that we've seen over the last couple of weeks.
I think you're not just seeing, as we talk about the confidence of the team moving forward through the games, you're seeing that confidence in Mikel as well. Obviously, he's between the Guendouzi situation, you've obviously got something happening with Ozil. You've got Nico Pepe's partner going into labour. He's got to deal with all these things. And I thought the performance the boys put out on the pitch today really showed substance in this growth from both them and him. And that's really nice to see. It's a positive feeling going forward. Nick, on 62 minutes, you see a really good move from Wolves. You had Luiz stay with his runner, going into the box, put a good block in. Martinez, brave on a cross coming through. Challenged by Wolves player, no issues. Everybody going for the ball. Really good football all around. Then on 63 minutes, not long after, you don't really clear everything properly. Traore's played in. I think we can sometimes look at our defending and be a bit too critical. It was well worked. We turned the ball over in midfield and Wolves took full advantage, but he couldn't control it and he fires over. Whoa, there were a couple of minutes of absolute bonkers stuff going on, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was similar to the Norwich game. Seen from the start of the second half up until that drinks break, with whatever tactics Wolves decided to do at half-time, they would definitely hit us. And I think we were sort of on the ropes for a good 10, 15 minutes. And obviously when Traore went through, I think the goalkeeper did well to come out as fast as he did, because that could have really backfired on him. Because he obviously looked up and thought, I'm going to have to chip him, because he was up, he was tall. So he thought, I've got to chip him. And thank God that was just over the over the crossbar, because that was really close. Because you can make yourself look really silly if the guy takes it early and just puts it on the floor, and then you're in no man's land. But he done well, let's say, to come out as quick as he did. And I think his decision making pretty much the whole game was spot on today. So he's going to give Arteta a decision to make, because I think we've been talking, obviously, on the podcast and in the news about Arsenal maybe getting another goalkeeper. Let's talk like Fraser Forster and people like that. But if he keeps playing the way he's playing in the next 5-6 games we've got left, hopefully, he's obviously going to save Arteta a bit of money where he can spend it elsewhere.
Sorry. Richard Morris, you're bang on. Richard Morris has spotted where I live. Bloody hell. Oh, do you know what? This chat box makes me smile. Phil Marker, you were late. Keep your trap shut. Oh, Jesus wept. Do you know what? Okay, this chat box is nuts. So some shout outs. Phil Marker, you were late. You haven't got a note. I'm not happy with you. John 95 Winston's there. Big Bunny Kane. K-Man 1867. Richard Morris, who's won the chat box today. Formerly Noza. Oh, God, I'm going to struggle with this one, mate. So apologies. Abiodun Odieli. If I've missed around start, I do apologise, but it's my first attempt at it. Boy 10, Dio's there. Andrew Thompson. Oh, this is you, Drew. Jesus. Avon Teddington's there. Sorry, Richard Morris has just ruined me. Mega Buzzed Gaming is there. There was some Russ Morgan, Julian Salmon, Ali Card Live 2. Sorry. Hello all. How are we? Drew, you then see the drinks break. That's on about 74 minutes. So it was 69, 70 minutes. And Arteta was going to bring on Hector and Willock for Saka and Cedric. But he held off as we were in a bit of a defensive issue. And he held off for a few minutes, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. But again, I don't know. It's hard for me. I don't like to speculate a lot, so I'm not quite sure, why he couldn't have made a change a little bit earlier. And I don't really know if it could have been one of the rules necessarily about the sub windows. I'm not even quite sure about all the exact facts about the sub windows, to be honest with you. But I mean, it ended up working out in the end. So I'm not quite sure what you're trying to angle with the question. So maybe you can tell me what you're talking about.
I just thought, he trusted the guys on the pitch. They're warm, they're alert, and he had enough confidence to say, actually, let's just hold up on this. I'm trusting my guys to see this out. And again, it's that bond with him and the squad, and in having faith in who's on the pitch and playing through it.
You could also say that at that point in time, maybe if he wanted to maybe be a little bit on the front foot for a couple more minutes, keeping Cedric on in theory probably would have helped that out because he has a better final ball than Bellerin would. So you could maybe argue that point. And also with Saka, he does have a bit of pace that could cause issues on the counter attack as well. So, but a good counter attacking chance could pop up in 5 or 6 minutes. Having him on could have made some sense as well. But other than that, I think you bring up a fair point. Just the fact that he is showing faith in his players right now. He is trying to, but it's not just about appreciation of the players. It's confidence building. And I think you saw us through the course of the last couple of weeks, the confidence that is building across the side, but also, we could think back to the last season, or even early on in this season. If we put this same match scenario into, October, would we have seen it out that well? Would the players have been confident? You know what I mean? Would the mistake levels, would those have been as reduced as they were today? I'm not quite sure about that. And I think that's something that we aren't talking enough about how well the players are responding to the faith that's being shown in them, with the fact that everyone seems so comfortable with their roles now. And we couldn't say that. Even under Freddie, and even in the early days under Arteta, you still saw that everything was so disjointed. But we're rapidly becoming the exact opposite of that. And I think that's why we're getting that right platform and building block to actually do something with it. And maybe you think you do have a fair point that maybe if you wanted to give them another 5 or 6 minutes to test them, to see, work yourselves out of the pressure you're now finding yourselves in, that's a really good shout.
It's one of those things. I think you make a really great point about them. A really, really great point about this team and the way it's grown. We can see. I didn't see any change under Freddie. There are other issues around that. No coaching staff. I felt he was sold up the river, but I don't think he made any changes either, which is disappointing. He just went with what Emery was doing, which I found really, really frustrating. But, you can see the hard work paying off now. You go from the Brighton performance to this. And, my next note's Nick. Swiss gets a yellow going through the back of Alba. Then Swiss, he was lucky to stay in the park, another bad challenge on Eddie. But AMN picks up a yellow for going at Martinez. He'd taken the ball, he'd won the ball, he was in traffic, he turned the ball over, he didn't want to let it go, did he? He wanted to stick with it. He really showed desire at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it looked like he got a bit of a shoulder charge just before that and put on his arse. And normally, players like, we've had in the past, they would just sort of sit on the floor and cry, wave their hands and that. But he was straight up, no, not having that. And I think he was unlucky to get booked because he won the ball, but I suppose he did make sure he took the man as well.
He went through him, to be fair.
Yeah, and then the next leg obviously took the man as well. But I like that. You've got to have a bit of fighting because if they're going to start putting it about a bit, you've got to match them. But obviously not go over the top and give the referee decisions to make by lashing out, but match them on the pitch what they're doing, like blow for blow. Don't there's a few times later where we saw some of our players like moaning at the referee, and I was like, no, stop doing that. He's not interested. Just get on with it. And I think they did for the rest of it. Pretty much since that tackle, I think Wolves thought, no, we're not going to bully these today. We've tried. We've come out the second half. They've weathered the storm. And I think, not to say the drinks break. I mean, I was thinking about this earlier. When we're talking about managers on the side of the pitch shouting and all that, how can they get messages onto players on the pitch without the opposition coaches and players hearing what he's saying as well? If you're telling him, oh, he's doing this, putting down the other side, that he's going to hear it. So maybe with this drink break, he's telling people closely, right, I want you to do this more. This guy's running your ragged down this end, just help him for 5 minutes. And that's why it seemed to be simple. So it's like a mini half-time, or what do they do in America, like a timeout sort of thing?
Yeah.
So I think, that's making it a lot more interesting, for managers and coaches because, normally when you've got 50, 60,000 fans screaming, you can't really hear what they're saying very well. And even the players, shouting like man on to each other, face up, get into position, help him out. They couldn't maybe like 100% hear that every time. But in this, like I say, double-edged sword, everyone can hear everything. So I think a lot of, not just Arsenal, a lot of teams are actually give better performances.
No, we're developing. This is helping. I think, we were doing okay before the break. We were doing okay. We weren't brilliant, but we were going well. The break came at a difficult time. The City game was always a poison chalice. If you get something fantastic, but they were superb that day and we were not up to much.
We didn't lose 4-0 though, did we?
Look, it doesn't really matter, but that Brighton game was gutless and we let ourselves down and that annoyed me. But the response since that time and the development we see game on game, week on week is very, very impressive. So it was in everything we've got to develop. Drew, on 80 minutes or 81 minutes, you see Torreira and Laka replace Ceballos and Eddie. Your thoughts on Ceballos' performance? He's obviously talented. There's no getting away from it. He's got talent. He frustrated me today, but there was no lack of effort, was there?
No, I think with him, there's never a lack of effort, in all fairness. I don't think that's the problem. I think for me, his decision-making can come into question at times. You see that, positionally he does quite well. He's confident on the ball. He's not afraid to get stuck in. He's also not afraid to take players on when he's in possession. But I think sometimes you see him try to force a pass. And there was a couple instances today where he gave possession away needlessly that could have given us a bit of problems. And I think you've seen that from him every single performance since the restart, where you can pick out between 2, 3, and 4 moments of, there was a better option, and he tried to force a bad pass, and then it's immediate turnover of possession, and then the other team breaks. So I think if he can just work on that, almost that one thing about himself alone, then I'd be more confident playing him more often. Again, I agree with you. It's not a lack of ability. I think that's pretty clear. But there's a reason why Real Madrid don't want him. And it's not to slight him as a player, but it's the small percentage margins where if he keeps making the same routine mistakes in one key area of his game, you're not going to want to play him week in, week out in your midfield, particularly in such a role that's so pivotal to your side. So, but I think he and both Xhaka played quite well today, and Arteta's post-match comments reflected his feelings on the performance as well. So if we can get him confident, playing week in, week out along with Xhaka, I think they can form a pretty balanced midfield partnership. And then, depending on what we do in the summer, if we do any summer business, that gives us a really balanced midfield in terms of options. So, yeah.
I'll come to that after in the questions. Nick, 85 minutes in, Willock. I thought Willock had really shown up since he came on the pitch today. I thought, he offered you something. He's replaced Saka on the right-hand side. Great work from Willock into the box. A good ball to Lacazette. Lovely feet, and bang, it's 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, that's the sort of thing we want Lacazette to do, where he's actually in the box and he's facing the goal. Whereas there's too many times, especially away from home. I don't know if because this is the end of the game and he was just allowed to play with a bit more freedom, but there's too much time where he's 20 yards out from goal. He's got his back to goal. He's got two players behind him and he's trying to link up with, Aubameyang or whoever, and he's just not getting any chance to actually have many shots per game. So that's probably why he's not scoring. But that sort of thing, that quick feet and the way he just shuffled that out of his body and put that past him. I mean, the keeper had no chance. I mean, that was past him before he'd even known Lacazette was having a shot. And I mean, I don't know if he's going to go in the summer, whether or not we have to sell him for funds for other places, and maybe he wants to go. But if we're going to play him more to his strengths and allow him to get on the ball and have shots at goal and stuff like that, that's fine. But if we're going to try and make him play as some sort of link-up man with his back to goal, we might as well sell him now, because that's no good to him. And we could get better players to do what we're asking Lacazette to do, with his back to goal than what he's doing. If it wasn't worth us getting rid of Giroud, if we were just going to play Lacazette how we were playing him.
No, I agree with you. I do agree with you. I think, there's a couple of our players at the moment who've had a tough time recently. And there's you see some absolute nonsense spoken about it at times. Lacazette has been through the mill. You can see there's been a lack of confidence. He hasn't been as zippy as he normally is. His footwork for this goal was fantastic, and I was so chuffed for him. The first person I look for on Twitter when Lacazette scores is Chris Carpenter. He's a massive fanboy, and rightfully so. And it was just so nice to see him get that. I was disappointed in the Norwich game when Xhaka scored. Lacazette's on the edge of the box. I want him in the box at that point, but he was in the box today. Drew, he's not a bad player. We know he's not a bad player. You don't become a bad player overnight, but he's been going through a tough time, hasn't he?
I think so. And for me, and I said this on Gooner Talk recently, that I think for me it's solely based on he just lacks confidence. And I think that's very apparent when you watch him play. You just watch his mannerisms on the pitch. You know that he's not just someone who's really firing on all cylinders right now. And his decision-making in the box, when he does get into the box, was always quite questionable. And that was something that was never about his game. He was always very decisive in terms of knowing he's going to play a ball to a teammate or knowing he's going to put his foot through it and try to finish it. And, you saw that even when he first came to the club, and the fact that he, can't just make up his mind recently, I think speaks to that. But the way he took his goal today, that's the Lacazette that we bought. You saw that week in, week out from him at Lyon, and then you saw that in large parts of him when he wasn't good form for us. So, I take your guys' point that, when you have a number 9, you want him in the box a lot. But, think back to, how often does, Aguero and Firmino drop deep? to link midfield. And I think that's, and you see more of it with Nketiah now as well, don't you? He's dropping back deep to, almost to midfield a lot of the time to really kind of get more involved. It's not because he's not tasked with getting goals. It's because you have to keep the passing lanes available. You have to make sure your passing chains are there. So, but the impetus has to be on him then to get further forward into the box as play progresses. So you do have to find that balance. But the way he took his goal today, if you start seeing from him more often as the season starts to close, that's another interesting headache that Arteta's going to have moving forward, especially for next season, because a lot of people want Lacazette sold. I don't think Arteta wants him sold. I don't think the club wants him sold. And I'd rather have a good headache than a bad one, obviously. So we'll see. But I'm quite happy for him for his goal today. And I think everyone else kind of had the same reactions. I think more people are chuffed about it than You're going to get negativity, and we can all be negative after a poor performance. That's fine. But I thought today we were gritty. I thought we were really gritty, and I thought Lacazette summed that up in the way he took his goal. He kept at it, good footwork, and he finished well. The one thing about Lacazette, I think he misses that runner coming off him from midfield, and we don't get runners in that position, and that kind of frustrates me. Nick, I want you to answer this, and then I want you to pass straight across to Drew on his thoughts. The game as a whole. We've gone out today. We've been measured. I think you can rightly be critical of certain areas of our game, but I think you have to give us massive credit for the way they all... Sorry, bear me a second. Denny Josep, you twit. Stop spamming my box. Go to hell. I hope you get an STD. I hope it's a nasty one as well. I hope you're scratching for ages, you scumbag. Get out my box. Wasn't a perfect performance from us, but my God, we stuck to our game plan. We showed mettle. We defended well. There's so many more positives to take from this display than I felt there were on Wednesday against Norwich. Your thoughts, Nick, then please pass on to Drew.
Yeah, I mean, other than, let's say clean sheets and goals and stuff like that, I just think, especially today, and even in the first half where we thought that was a bit, I won't say boring, but I think we were trying to dictate the pace of the game. We weren't going to allow Wolves to, bully us, let them run at us, let them scare us, or bully us with fouls, rotational fouls and stuff like that. We pretty much cancelled them out most of the game. And so other than the Traore one where he almost chipped Martinez, did they really have many looks at goal? What do you think, Joe? I don't think they had much. I think I'm looking on here. I think they only actually had one shot on target the whole game. So what do you reckon, Drew?
Looks like Jason's disappeared. No, I think I would agree with you. I think the fact that we only allowed one shot on frame all match actually is a really good positive sign. And I think everyone's happy with the clean sheet, But again, I think that the big thing for me, and we've already highlighted a couple of times, is the way the game was managed. Not just the way Arteta managed it, but the way the players managed the game as well. You saw a bit more responsibility, a bit more maturity in the players, especially the young players. And if you're looking to build a longer-term project at the club, that's something that you want to see progression in, even by a very small margin every outing. As long as you're trending up constantly, that's what you want to see. And I think we're seeing that right now. And pre-match, Wolves was the informed side in the Premier League. They don't score a lot of goals, but they certainly know how to see teams off. They certainly know how to keep clean sheets, and then they know how to take their chances when they threaten it. And as you said, we limited their chances incredibly well. I think Arteta showed that he's showing an increased ability of how to counter use opposite number on the touchline. So these are pretty big hallmark things that you want to see for a team who's trying to really rebuild their brand and try to rebuild things on the pitch and wants to be ready to compete in kind of short order. So I think it's a brilliant performance. It's a massive result, especially we're going to go up against a Leicester side who's in patchy form recently, and another one there, and we're right back in it for top six. It's big, and I think a lot of people might start be thinking of what we before deemed highly unlikely is now becoming an actual possibility, and it gives us something to play for, which is quite nice.
Yeah, the turnaround. I mean, I think we're unfortunate. I think those 3 points dropped against Brighton are going to haunt us, and that's a shame. That's a real shame because I'm really happy with the way these guys are developing. I think it's going to be a really strange summer. It's going to be the transfer window is going to be massive for us, and the players that we bring in, you just hope that they're going to complement this squad and kind of go forward. Aaron Hadari and Richard Morris are both a pair of slags. That's all I got to say. You absolutely gets. So let's go to questions, guys. That's the game. I think we can all agree it's a great result for us. 3 points at Wolves is not easy. Really good performance. Another step on the road to building a squad to challenge, which is what we all want. So, right, let's get into it. Nick, first to you. Julian Salmon asks, do you think we should stay firm on the Saliba issue or try to come to some sort of solution with Saint-Etienne? That's about us putting the block on Saint-Etienne, on Saliba playing in the French Cup final. It's due to medicals having to come back and forth to London. What are your thoughts, mate?
I'm not really sure. I mean, because when does his contract officially end? Is it like the 1st of July, maybe? So is his contract up or is it the end of July? But
I don't know. I mean, obviously, he's our player. He's on loan with them. That's come to an end because the season would have ended. Whether they've negotiated the extension or not, I don't know. But, you could talk about a young guy who's got a chance to play in a final. How's he going to react to that if we stop that happening?
Yeah, they should just let him play. I mean, I know we've only got like Ceballos and that on loan, but I assume Madrid have extended, our loan of him for a few weeks to finish the season. I mean, like I say, this has never happened before. And if everyone seems to be extending everyone's loans, and I can't see why we won't let him do it. And it's one game. He's a French boy. Why would he not want to play in the cup final? And why would you? I don't know why they'd stop him unless it's something to do with money.
He's had a groin issue. He has.
Right. So, if our doctors look at him and say he's not fit, and their doctors look at him and say he is fit, we have to go on what our doctors say, or just get a third-party doctor, as in the middle, and see what they say. But if he is injured, then he shouldn't play because he's still our player. We've loaned him back for the season, which is the reason we got him. We allowed him to go back. There's not many players that would buy a player, teams that buy a player for 30, 35 million pounds and then loan him back again, for the remainder of the season. Not that much, but if he's not, if he is injured and they're going to give him an injection and tell him to play and he rips his groin and he needs an operation, he's out for 6-7 months of our season, then yeah, he shouldn't play. But
I can't see Saint-Etienne doing that, unless he's 100% fit, because their credibility goes down the river.
So if he's fit, fair enough, let him play. But if he's not fit, then he can't play. That's just common sense, really. I mean, why would they want someone to play that's not fit? He might break down after 10 minutes, and then they've got to make a sub, and that could mean that they won't win the cup if they have to make a sub early on.
This is the thing, they're not going to play anybody who's half fit. You're taking it, Drew?
It's tough, man. I think, especially he's such a young player as well, and he's done so well for Saint-Etienne that he's earned the right to play in a cup final, and it's a big cup final for them. And they're a club who don't get a lot right now. They're not going to be in the league anytime soon because PSG is there, and getting a cup final for a club that is pretty historic and France would be pretty big for him as well, and giving him a boost of confidence coming into our preseason and next season off the back of a cup final win would be huge. But on the flip side, I understand the club's position, and as Nicky just said, that what happens if even if he does pass fully fit, what happens if he gets an ACL done in the cup final? He's out for 6 months. That's our player at that point as well, and technically we didn't know about, things restarting or what France is going to do with their footballing schedule. But, I guess a lot of people assumed that their season was over. And I think a lot of people in France assumed the same. So it's tough. At the end of the day, clubs do have to protect their assets, their players. And if we're going to want Saliba to come back, to compete for a starting place, then they're going to want to protect them. And I get that. And I think that's the only basis of where they're coming from. But you do feel for him as well. He might potentially miss out on a chance to achieve something really big in a career that's still, quite young. He's only been playing as a professional football for 2 or 3 seasons. So you feel for him, but you understand where the club's coming from. So, I don't have a necessarily opinion on what I think the club should do. I see both angles, and hopefully they can come to some sort of agreement about it.
Well, Richard Morris and Chris Lodato have both put in the box. Apparently, if you let him play one more game, it would trigger a 17 appearance clause, and we owe them an additional €2.5 million. So, God only knows. God only knows. Sticking with you now, Drew. Sanam Garung asks, do we sell Guendouzi in the summer?
As for right now, you're thinking. To me, it doesn't matter how much potential he has as a footballer. It's if he's not going to really get his head down and try to take instruction and listen and come on board with everything that they're trying to do internally at the club about building culture and respect and how to carry yourself as a player, then he has to go. And it has no bearing on his ability as a player. I think he could play a vital role for the club long term because of his age, because of how many appearances he's already made despite being such a young player. But it's clear that there are issues, and it's not the first time. You had that rumored bust up with Arteta in Dubai. You had this current issue now. You have the fact that the club had to really come down on him about, how outwardly he is about on social media and just how to carry yourself. If these are all issues that are going to persist, you don't want that in the dressing room when you're trying to really rebuild from within and get the right type of players into the club. So I think if he can't really come to heel and sort himself out, then you do sell him. And especially because right now you're looking at a sizable chunk of money for a player that you can get and you can reinvest, and you still also have faith in quite a few other young players we already have at the club. So I wouldn't be sad if he left off those terms, but if he wants to get his head right, then I'm more than happy for him to stay. It's not. I don't think he should be forced out. I think the ball's in his court. How he responds depends on what we do with it, at least in my take. So,
I got to be honest. I think his ego far outweighs his talent. He offers you very little going forward. He offers you very little going backwards. His passing's not slick enough. He's not good enough on the ball, in my opinion. If somebody wants to pay us a ton for money for him, I'd get him at the door too sweet. I think there are better leagues for his talent out there, and it's a shame because when he first arrived, I thought he could be something special. But if he's not going to get on board of the Arteta train, he can go to hell. Thunder Road. Ellis put you in timeout, so I put Ellis in timeout. He doesn't put you in timeout, pal. I put you in timeout. He's gone. Ellis is blocked for 5 minutes. Stuff in. Sorry, El. Nicky Wilson. Julian Salmon asks, any truth in the rumours that Aubameyang will be signing a new contract next week? Apparently, he wants 3 years. He wants £250,000 a week. What would you do, Nick? What would you do?
Well, I'd say, I was thinking the other day, a few people said he hasn't really had a lot of injuries, touch wood, especially when he's been at us. So he's quite fit. These players are a lot more athletes than they were years ago. We look at Ronaldo's, 34, 35, and they reckon when he came back from this quarantine, he was actually fitter than what he was when he went into it. So if he can keep himself fit and he wants to sign, and I think what's he on? I think he's on about 200 at the moment. And if he wants 250, that's like a 25% pay rise. And I think what he's done in the last 2.5 years, no footballer's worth the silly money they're getting, but if you're talking 25% more money for what he's done the last 2.5 years, I wouldn't begrudge him that. If he was talking 400, 500,000 pound a week. That's just his way of saying he wants out. But if that's what he's asking for, 250, 3-year deal, yep, get him signed. I'd be happy with that.
Sweet. Drew? This is the one now. Drew's not Auba's biggest fan, but the goals are there. Can we afford to lose the goal? I mean, Drew, if it was me, mate, I'd give him 250 grand a week and a finger up the bum. Okay?
I would keep him because he's only asking for 250 a week. And I think that's pretty reasonable. He's already on roughly about 200, 215K now. So you're only really buffing him up another 30 to 40K a week. That's really not that bad considering. And he is only 30 to 31. He is still getting goals. He's still in the golden boot race currently. The only question you could ask is if long-term, if he's still going to be used on the left, how happy he's going to be in that role, and if the goal production will eventually drop if his athleticism drops. I think that's the only question mark. Is the players as they age, they by default lose pace over time, all athletes. So that's the only question you could really say. But to Nicky's point, the longest he's ever been out is 7 days. And he's never missed more than 2 matches ever in his entire career. So he is an incredibly fit athlete, and he does not really get, even when he gets hard challenges week in, week out, you see him, he pops right back up. He recovers quite well. So if you have a player who's naturally fit to that level, you kind of want to really put your eggs in that basket. So, I mean, I would, for that money, yes. If he was asking for 350, 400, I would tell him to, there's no way. But I think that's pretty reasonable considering. I think it shows that he actually does want to be here. So I would re-sign him, yeah.
I find that really interesting because I know you've got your issues with Auba, and you're always honest in what you say, and that's why you're on here, But that level of elasticity he has with his body to just be out for 7 days, that's phenomenal. That's absolutely phenomenal. All credit to the guy. He keeps himself in good shape. I'm not a fan of some of his social media behavior and stuff like that. I'm not, but it's his life and he gets to do what he wants to do. You've got to give him a bit of credit there. Nicky, John Bernstein asks, if Auba signs the thing and Pepe is left, you have Pepe and Eddie in the middle, Auba on the left, how do we get Saka into the lineup, left wing, wing back, or what about Tierney? How do you see Saka developing then?
Well, he'll come in when he in. I mean, I don't know. If Man City get banned or we win the FA Cup, we're still going to be in Europa League next year. So there's going to be probably plenty of games for him to play. And, I think a lot of people get stuck, and I always have done, on the first 11. It's a squad game now. It's been a squad game for a long time, and Arsenal haven't really been about that for a long time. And if they keep the 5 sub rule for next season, we're going to need more players in there anyway. And plus, with our injury record, he's going to get plenty of minutes, and hopefully, he's just got to come in and he's just got to learn from the experienced players. I mean, Drew was saying about Aubameyang. Yeah, he's going to drop off in the next 2 or 3 years. If he signs another 3-year deal, he's going to be 34. Obviously not. But if he can work well with, like a Martinelli or Nketiah, if he can help teach these players and become like what Bergkamp was in his later years, so he doesn't have to play every minute of every game. He can play half an hour here, 40 minutes here. And if he can help and evolve his game where he doesn't need, I don't think his game's all about pace. I don't think that he's a one-trick pony and he can only, run, counter-attack and put the ball in the top corner and stuff like that. I think he's quite a good finisher, left foot, right foot, and he's pretty good in the air as well. But let's say with Saka, now he's signed his new contract, he's just got to hopefully keep grounded and not get arrogant and overconfident like Guendouzi, and just learn, just take your time. You're going to get a chance at Arsenal, so hopefully he can really kick on.
Well, this is the thing. All these guys, they're at that early part of their career. They need good influences, and hopefully Aubameyang can be that for them. Drew, Sanam Garung asks, is Papa done?
I mean, I hope so.
Yes.
That's kind of it. Like I didn't want him at the club. I don't care what anybody said. So I just don't feel like he's the type of defender that if you're trying to play progressive football and build from the back, you don't want that kind of defender at the club. And I think the saving grace for someone like a David Luiz is, despite the errors that he does make, I think the fact that he's such a good ball playing center back, that's the only reason why we wanted him here in the first place. Jerusalem Mari, but Arteta likes him. Mustafi has improved. I think we can all agree there. I know a lot of us don't like him.
Question, Mustafi. Would you answer that as well? Formula asks, should we stick or twist in Mustafi?
I think we should stick with him. And I think it's, as Nicky just said, and I think I agree with him, it's a squad game now. And if you're going to get into Europe, you need to have players that can rotate in. And you can't just rely on young players everywhere. And if we're looking at the squad, so say Sokratis does get sold, and say Mavropanos gets sold on to Germany this summer, which there's a lot of interest in him, so we might very well cash in. You need a player like Mustafi. He's in his prime playing years. He's improved under Arteta dramatically, and he does offer experience to where someone like Saliba can come in and maybe, if holding remains, you have a good core amount of center backs. And obviously Luiz is only going to be here for another year, so when Luiz is done after next season, you still have Mustafi in the club. So you're still getting that experience at that center back role. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I think Chambers and Holding. We want to see them developing. Okay, let them win those places properly. You've got Saliba coming in. We're gonna need people. We're gonna need continuity, and I think, to be fair to Mustafi, with the more solid lineup we have in front of him, you see the actual qualities of the player rather than them, being absolutely, gun shy after the Emery era. When you're having 30-odd shots on goal every game. So I would, but I've always been a big Mustafi fan. So hey, they try to crucify me for it. I stayed strong. Nicky, here we go. Ellis Mel asks, Ellis Mel, who's currently in timeout. Yes. How many points are we going to get in our next 3 games?
I can't remember. We've got Leicester, Spurs, and I don't even know. I can't remember who the last.
Leicester, Spurs, and then it's. Sorry, I should have had this up. Yeah, Leicester, Spurs, Liverpool.
Oh, I was going to say 9 points there, but I didn't know Liverpool were then. But I think we're going to do Tottenham. Leicester had a good win today, but Palace looked absolutely awful. I watched them, but I'll be confident. I'll say we'll get 7 points, 2 win and a draw, because I don't know. I think Liverpool, they're on the beach already, aren't they? I saw them this week against Man City. They're on the beach. They're not interested. They're worried about next season and not getting injured. I think, is it at Anfield though, or is that
no, it's at our gaff, isn't it?
Yeah, it's at home.
9 points we'll do.
Excellent. That's what I like to hear. A bit of positivity. Just a couple more questions now. We wrap up. So I'm going to take the next one. Cyan Vesh asks, what's the difference between now and Emery's winning run? Seems like we're getting a bit carried away. No, I don't agree, Si. I've got to be honest there. I think there's a massive difference in the way you're seeing the squad development. Whereas Emery planned from game to game, you can see a long-term plan with Arteta. Hey, he may fail. We don't know what the future holds. But we see from performance to performance, the squad growing, the squad getting more comfortable. You see patterns of play developing. That never happened under Unai. And, I remember during that run, I think we were 15 games in, and myself and John Welsh will be doing this show. And it's like, geez, we just seem to be going from pillar to post every week, every game. There was no development in the way we played. There was no coherent structure as to how we attacked games. We're seeing that under Arteta, and I think that's massive. One last question for all of us before we finish. Rudy Rostos asks, who was man of the match? I'm struggling to name one. Nick, you first.
I'd say Mustafi. I think he did. Luiz looked a bit ropey and gave away a few silly fouls, and I think he got booked after about half an hour, which I think, that's a bit silly to get booked that early on into a game, because the guy, I think it was Traore, but he was right out on the touchline as well, about 35 yards from goal, so there's no need to do that. But Mustafi, I was listening to the game with the fake crowd noise off, and you could actually hear him squeaking and shouting and pointing, and he was, whether or not he was actually trying to boss the game, and people were actually listening to him. So I think he actually had a really good game today.
Drew?
First of all, I'm happy someone finally gave Mustafi credit. It took this fan base years to do it, so congrats. But I think he played well. I would actually go with Xhaka. I think Emery kind of mirrored my thoughts. I think he really controlled the game well. I think for once he didn't really put many feet wrong. He got stuck when he needed to. We controlled play through him when required, and I think he just had a really good all-around performance. And I wasn't really concerned with him there, despite, Wolves like to be on the ball and run at you at pace and get set pieces through being fouled persistently. So I think he kept his head in the game in that regard. I just think he had a good all-around performance. So I'd go with Xhaka for sure. But it's a good shout about Mustafi as well. So.
I can happily give either of the man the match. I've got to be honest with you. I thought, I thought as a squad today we were superb in the way, even though, Rudy Rastos puts in there Cedric for him, Saka for Michael Hahnemann. I thought those two had pretty bang average games, to be honest with you, but they didn't let us down. Do you know what I mean? When the time came, they put the tackles in, they got their goal. I thought you saw us grow up a little bit today. Mustafi for me. I've got to be honest with you, but I'm a bit of a Mustafi fanboy, so that's the way it is. And that's it for today. To our American friends, happy 4th of July. To all you Gooners, that's a really excellent 3 points away from home. It's fantastic. To everybody in the chat box, even Ellis Mel, I think he's still banned, or he's probably left now with a strop. But you've been superb. Chat box has been brilliant after today, apart from a couple of spammers. But there you go. Where's the Chelsea guy? There's a Chelsea guy in there. Hello. Nick, thank you very much, pal.
Cheers for having me on, Jace.
Always a pleasure, pal. Always a pleasure. Good show. Enjoyed that. Drew, always a pleasure to have your dulcet tones and your perspective. I enjoy that, mate. Well played.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again. It's good to be back with you guys.
Superb. Gooners, 3 points. Fingers crossed we can get Champions League. But, every game like this is a step in the right direction, and that is magnificent. So, well done to Mickey and the lads. Let's keep it Arsenal. Take care. Have a lovely weekend, guys. Thank you.